The New York Sports Machine presents The Shootout with Dr. K.
Finale to Nystrom. He scored! Bob Nystrom scores the goal. The Islanders win the Stanley. Beto behind the net. Swings it in front. He scores! Beto! 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 Beats it on goal. Shoots! The waiting is over, and this one will last a lifetime. 3, 2, 1, look us.
Here's Dr. K.
Hello, Dr. K in on this Wednesday afternoon, April 1st, April Fool's Day. No jokes in here. The Dr. K making the house calls this afternoon, just a little bit after 2 p.m. here, again on this April 1st, 2015, and it is getting down to the wire, folks. It is almost a time that we can all be happy about. It's almost playoff hockey time. And what we'll do right now is we will quickly go over the standings and the perceived matchups of what we could see in just a few weeks in the Eastern and Western Conferences. Right now in the Atlantic Division, Montreal leading the way, 102 points for them. Tampa Bay right behind them with 101, and Detroit with 93 solidly in third place. The Metropolitan, you've got the Rangers with 103, and then the Penguins and the Islanders tied with 95 apiece. The wild card scenario right now, you've got Washington with 94, Boston with 91, and then just lurking on the outside with the assistance of the Hamburglar is Ottawa with 88 points, and they sit 3 points out with a game in hand on Boston, So we're coming down to the wire, just a few 5-6 games left for these teams who are pushing towards the playoffs, and we're going to talk about the Islanders and Rangers, two teams who aren't pushing towards the playoffs but are pushing towards gearing up for the playoffs, and the Islanders who went on a bit of a sad stretch over the course of March are now mercifully in April. And that hopes that the change of the calendar day and month will help this team. We'll read over March, which was pretty abysmal. I mean, when you look at this, the kind of season that the Islanders have had, and they sit right now at 45-27 and 5 overtime losses for 95 points, this March just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. I mean, it starts all the way on March 3rd with a 3-2 loss against Dallas. That one in overtime. Then they beat Nashville in Nashville, then they lose to Florida, they beat Toronto, they lose to the Rangers, they lose to the Senators, they lose to the Canadiens, they lose to the Blackhawks, they beat the Devils, they lose to the Wild, they lose to the Kings, they lose to the Ducks, and then to end it, they beat Detroit. So over the course of the month, just 4 wins and 1 overtime loss to go along with that pretty abysmal month of March. But it's April now, and the sky isn't falling if you're an Islanders fan. Let's keep that in mind. The sky is not falling. Cooler heads always prevail. Patience is a virtue, and this isn't playoff hockey. I mean, a lot of people will say this is the kind of hockey you're going to see in the playoffs, but we're not there yet. And before a minute of playoff hockey has been played, you cannot even dream of saying that a season is over. You can't dream of saying that they're not meant to be there because they haven't even been there yet. So relax, settle down. They ran into some stupidly hot goaltending over the course of that month. Let's look at it, shall we? I mean, Cam Talbot. Who would have expected Cam Talbot to put together the month of March without the King that he put together? He was incredible. How about Hammond in Ottawa, the Hamburglar? He has single-handedly lifted that Ottawa team from demise into a playoff race, just 3 points out. How about Carey Price, who's probably going to win the MVP and is definitely going to win the Vezina? How about Corey Crawford, who is not a bad goalie? I mean, you meet him against a good Chicago team, and Corey Crawford is at the side of the net. Yes, he's not on a streak like these other goaltenders that I'm mentioning, but just in the course of 2 weeks, if you're going to see Corey Crawford as the worst goalie you face, well, that's not good. And then you've got Corey Schneider, who is the only reason the Devils still play hockey. Then you've got Devin Dubnyk, who's played, I think, 35 consecutive games for Minnesota and has propelled them from out of the playoffs to in the playoffs single-handedly. Then you've got Jonathan Quick, who, again, not a bad goaltender. I mean, these are Corey Crawford and Jonathan Quick. If those are the two goalies that are not hot that you're going to see, well, I mean, you're going to have trouble. And then you've got, and then you've got Anaheim, who's just a great team. And then you've got on Sunday against not a very good goaltending tandem, or one that has been struggling in Mrazek and Jimmy Howard. I mean, that's when you see the offensive explosion. So it's been a battle of bad luck. It's been a battle of stupidly hot goaltending. It's been a battle that you don't want to run into in the playoffs, and you're happy that you've run into it now and you've fought through it, and now you can move past it. And you've got a few tune-up games in April before you get started in the playoffs, and yeah, you want home ice. You really want home ice, but you just want to be in the playoffs. Being in the playoffs is the first step. Home ice is the second step. Let's clinch playoffs. Then we can worry about getting home ice. I mean, listen, this is a team that is going to play hard regardless of if they're at home or if they're on the road. It's playoff hockey. Yes, you want to spend more time at home. You want to spend more time in your own building in front of your own fans. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you're playing playoff hockey. That's all that matters here. Once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen in April and June. And May, I guess that month still counts too. So anything can happen in those months, and so you've got to really just get there and then focus on that from there. The Rangers, everybody saw it. I mean, they're one of the best teams constructed in the Eastern Conference. They have always been. Yes, they got off to a rough start, and as I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, if I'm any team, I don't want to see that team in the playoffs, especially if I'm the Islanders. And I said it before because I don't think the series will be fun fan-wise. I just don't see the excitement in it. It'll just be mean and nasty, and that's not the point of what sports is supposed to be. So it won't be fun if the Islanders and Rangers meet, not only because it'll be mean and nasty, but because the Islanders and any team in the National Hockey League don't really match up very well against that Ranger team. They're a very good squad, and I don't want any part of that going through the months of April and May and possibly June. I want to stay very far away from that team in Manhattan, and if anybody else is going to take them on and take them down, go for it. I will, do whatever I can to support you, but I don't want to be the one charged with doing that. So it's important for the Islanders that they do finish in the 2 or 3 seed, because then they will probably most likely match up with Pittsburgh, and they still hold home ice in their favor. They own the season series. They've got games against non-playoff teams coming up, games that are very winnable, and they play Pittsburgh the second to last day of the season before that final game at the Coliseum. And the next time we do a shootout, we'll talk a little bit about the Coliseum, because there's some things I want to get off my chest about the move to the Barclays Center and everything about it. I grew up in the Coliseum, everybody. Born in '93, haven't seen the Islanders win a playoff series. My first pretzel twist tastes just as good as the last in the Coliseum. So it's a building that I've had a lot of memories in, and a building that I'm definitely going to miss, but it's a topic for another shootout, one that we will have shortly, and we'll discuss it then. But up until then, right now, it's about getting into the playoffs. It's about gearing up for the playoffs. It's about staying calm. Cooler heads prevail. Everything is going to be okay. The Islanders are not going to collapse like the '07 Mets and miss the playoffs. It's not going to happen. So buckle up and get ready for playoff hockey. And buck up, too, because it is going to be emotional. It is going to be a roller coaster. You're going to lose a game 2. You're going to lose a game 3. And you're going to think that the sky is falling after you lose 3 in a row to some of the best goalies in the league. Settle down. You got to settle down. Your heart is not healthy for playoff hockey. You've got to settle down. You've got to be ready to go when the playoffs come around. And I'm talking directly to the fans here. The players are ready. They're ready to go. You've got to calm down. You've got to be ready to go too. So settle in, buckle up, buck up, and get ready. Playoff hockey's just around the corner. We'll be back with another shootout pretty shortly. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.